everyone. Welcome to another Community Connections and hello online as well. My name is Jeremy Capone. I am the wellness chef for Cancer Rehab and Survivorship program at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and joined by always the amazing Amy.
Hi. It's so good to be back again. I'm trying to sneak into the video here.
Yeah.
So today we are talking about processed foods. And processed food gets a lot of bad press, especially ultra-processed foods. And, we wanted to talk about what exactly are processed foods. There's so many different types now. And are they all bad for our health? So today we are going to unpack the truth about processed foods and explore if there is a place for them at our table. So food processing is defined as anything that changes the natural form of the food. Yeah, I know, I realized I need to scooch over and get closer to Jeremy here. So let's start with the apple. So we're going to use the apple as our example of processing. So here we have an apple. It's natural. This is unprocessed, right? So it's still intact, has all the nutrient value, has all its fiber value. Okay, so I'll put that, well, here. No, I couldn't find apple chunks. Actually, I don't need that. I couldn't find frozen apples, so I got frozen pineapple chunks. Now this, requires some slicing, freezing, packaging. So we would call this a minimally processed food. So there's parts of it that have been removed, it's been cleaned, but we haven't added anything to it. And if you look at the nutrition facts or the ingredients, it just says pineapple. Okay? So, minimally processed. Then we go to a processed food. So now we have applesauce. So this is unsweetened applesauce. So we know that, it doesn't have sugar added to it. But that's where things get tricky with processing, is that now it's further derived from the original. It's actually all mushed up in here into a sauce. Mushed is probably not the culinary term, but that's the term I'm going to use. And we probably have less fiber in it. The nutrient value is a little bit less, but there's still some good nutrition there. And it plays a role in the diet in that, if you can't have solid foods, having soft foods may be the way to go. So this is processed food. Here you go, my Vanna. And then we get to ultra-processed. High chews. They have apples on the front, right? Must be nutritious. But this is what we call ultra-processed, in that there's probably very little, if any, of the original apple in this. Let's turn the apple upside down. So what has happened here is that there's been sugar added, there may be additives, very little nutrition, very little similarity to our original food item. So if we look at what we have in front of us, unprocessed, high fiber, lots of nutrition. Ultra-processed, very little nutrition, lots of sugar added, not a lot of nutritional value there. But here's where things get a little weird with nutritional science. It's not always that clear-cut, right? So some foods need to be processed so that they're usable, like olive oil. Olives need to be pressed to use olive oil. Milk needs to be pasteurized so it's safe for us to eat and drink. So what we thought we'd do today is, through the 3 amazing recipes that Jeremy has prepared, is see if we can get a better understanding of processed foods. And with that, I'm going to take away all my little samples, turn it over to Jeremy, and our first recipe is cauliflower apple soup with goat cheese. And this is where he's going to demonstrate, I guess he's demonstrating, it's a demo, the use of unprocessed and minimally processed foods.
I thought you were giving me a black box of ingredients to create
Yeah,
dish
we could do that.
with high chews and frozen pineapples. That would have been interesting.
High chews, yeah.
So yes, thanks, Neela. It does have a place, like you mentioned. Through the 3 recipes, we're going to sort of highlight how we can use some of these ingredients. A lot of times, it does help in terms of accessibility. We're all about accessibility. With all of our recipes, we want to make it a little bit easier. We want to make it more convenient, right? So we're going to highlight ways in which we can use some of those different, stages of processed foods. So we're making our soup today. It is chilly. These last few mornings have been a quick reminder, like, okay, fall is here. So today we wanted to focus on maybe some more comfort foods, which are nice. We're going to start off with a soup, highlighting some of our seasonal produce. We went apple picking last week, so got some apples. We have some walnuts, some goat cheese, some really nice sort of comfort ingredients. We're going to make a really nice soup out of it. So we're going to start with our pot here, medium heat, and I've added a little bit of olive oil. And to that, we're going to add some of our aromatics. I've got garlic here, which I'm just going to slice it, but if you want to mince it, you can mince it. You can even leave it whole and just sort of lightly crush it if you would like.
You can smell the olive oil now.
Yes. Any aromatics that you do enjoy, we can add at this point. And I'm also going to add a little bit of sage as well to this. Hi. All right, so the sage, we just got off of Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. So you might have some herbs still left lying around. The sage, if you want to add thyme, any of these aromatics would be super lovely. I'm going to play around with the camera here, so you might get a better look of what we have. Okay, so I'm going to try to do my best to tilt it. No, it's going to be hard to tilt it, but you can get the idea. We have our sage, we have our, olive oil, our garlic, medium heat. And what I want to do is just get a little bit of color on it so that it crisps up a little bit. After it crisps up, I can remove it from the pan because the flavor will be in the olive oil, and then I can save it to finish, which is what we're going to do. All right, so those are lovely. To you.
I'm going to try not to be like a dog tracking Jeremy everywhere he walks. It's like, where's he going? What's he doing?
So, a couple minutes on this just to crisp them up. Yeah. Perfect.
So I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about onion and garlic. Some of you that have been in our classes know that we love to talk about allicin, which is the antioxidant. So what happens with onions and garlic, once you crush or cut them, so a little bit of processing, it's minimal processing, you are actually releasing an enzyme, and this enzyme helps to create an antioxidant. The antioxidant is allicin, and allicin, research shows, may help with possibly reducing some cancer risk. So this is an example of where minimal processing actually adds benefit to the food.
Love it. Beautiful. All right. So you start to smell the garlic and the sage. Online, you probably won't be able to smell that. You can just imagine it. But we're starting.
Didn't use time to be able to smell it.
Yes. Soon enough. Yes, absolutely.
Soon enough, yes.
So we're starting to get a little bit of sizzling going on here. And I don't want too much color. But once the bubbles stop, then most of the water that is in the sage, not a lot, but there's still a little bit of water in there, and the garlic has sort of evaporated. And that's when it's going to be really nice and crisp, and that's when we're going to want to take it out, okay? Again, it's doing its job in terms of imparting its flavor. We can leave it in. This is more of like a fussy part if I want a little bit of garnish at the end. which we're going to be a little fussy today. So I am going to take it out. So this is pretty good for me. And let's see if I can zoom down.
You're getting to be a master.
Oh, we're trying.
at this.
We're working. Okay. All right. So you can kind of see there. Maybe a little swivel. Okay. We're working on the camera angles here. Doing our best. Okay. So at this point, I can take it out. And most of the garlic, I mean, if you want to take some of the garlic out too, you can do that as well. I'm just looking for the sage leaves, just on a little bit of paper towel. And this will stay nice and crispy, and I can just use it to top the soup afterwards. Okay. And then we're going to return that to the heat and then add our onion, like Daniela mentioned. So that's going to go in. I have it sliced. You can have it diced. Doesn't matter. We're going to puree this anyways.
The other thing about the onions and garlic that I didn't mention is that it takes 10 minutes for that antioxidant to develop. So it's best to let it sit first before you add it to the heat, because the heat would destroy it. It's heat sensitive. And I'm getting the okay from the doctor of organic chemistry, so.
All right, so now these apples, these beautiful apples, in its whole state, right? What I'm going to do is, this is going to be part of our soup. It's going to add some really, really nice texture. It's going to have a little bit of sweetness as well. We don't often think of apples in our soup, but it is a nice way to, again, thicken up your dish. Also add that little bit of sweetness that will balance out with the savoriness of the dish. So I'm just taking a peeler to it. Again, you can definitely leave the peel on if you want. For me,
I mean, I also like the idea that you're using seasonal fruits in the recipe. So
yes,
we always talk about locally grown seasonal fruits and vegetables. That would be the way to go. May also be a little bit cheaper if you're going to the farm.
Yes, absolutely. Now when
Orchard, not a farm. Sorry.
farm orchard. When we're using apples, Honeycrisp, Macintosh, these are apples that cook down really nicely, so they're great for applesauce. If you're making applesauce, they're really good for soups as well because they'll sort of cook down and get nice and soft. If you do want an apple that holds its shape really well, Golden Delicious is one that would really hold its shape. So that would be really good for like pies and dishes where you still want it to be in its sort of solid form. But because I want this nice and soft, we're going to choose an apple that does cook down, and we'll get a really nice puree on it. So, cutting
Sorry,
up the
I
core.
missed it. What kind of apple did you say?
This is Honeycrisp.
Honeycrisp.
Honeycrisp, which
That's my favorite.
yeah, everyone's favorite. Everyone loves the Honeycrisp, but this is the time. The most places that I went to, they're actually on sale now. So
Okay.
you don't have to travel to an orchard if you don't want. You can get them on sale, which is nice. We're going to add about 2 apples, just sort of roughly chopped to like big chunks here. Again, this will cook down pretty quickly.
And I see you added a little bit of lemon.
Yes. So most of like your white fleshed vegetables or fruit will start to oxidize pretty quickly. And again, if I'm prepping it as I go, I don't have to worry about that. If you're prepping in advance, which I did as well here, using the antioxidant from the lemon juice, right? That's going to sort of stop that oxidation, so you don't, get browning on your apples.
And it looks pretty when you're doing a demo. At home, you don't need to worry about it, right? For a soup.
Yeah. All right. So about 2 apples in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and add our first processed.
There we go.
Minimally processed ingredients with our frozen cauliflower. We're a big fan of frozen fruits and vegetables. We highlight them quite often in our classes, again, because of the convenience, right? It's already washed chopped, peeled, whatever it is. It's already done. A lot of the work is done for you. When prep usually takes up most of the time and energy that you spend in the kitchen, having an item where all that prep is already done can be very, very convenient. And then nutritionally,
and nutritionally, the flash freezing process locks in the nutrition of the fruit and the vegetable that was there at peak of ripeness. So it actually may be more nutritious than a cauliflower that traveled on a truck from who knows where and then sits in your fridge because you forgot about it. So having it frozen is easy. We know a lot of people talk about cancer-related fatigue, and so having something frozen is good. Also, if mobility issues, cutting the cauliflower might be difficult, or here we had the pineapple might be difficult, so having some frozen options is good.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so back to our stovetop cam. We have our cauliflower, we have our apples, we have our onion. I'll add a little pinch of salt now, and then I can adjust. I can season it again at the end. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of broth to it. I'm using a veg broth. Again, here's where, minimally processed or
this probably would be more of a processed item, so not minimally, but it required more processing. But again, as Jeremy was saying, convenience is part of it as well. If you have fatigue, what you're going to do is when you buy the broth, if you're buying it, is you're going to look at the ingredients, right? How many additives are there? These days, you can actually find it without added salt, without added fats. So go for those options. And then just know that you're using like apples, fresh apples. You're using minimally processed cauliflower. So you have a lot of good stuff there. So balancing out with just a little bit of something really processed like the broth is okay.
Yeah. So broth in, bring it up to a boil, and then lid on top, and then you can reduce heat to like medium low to low, and just let it simmer. Because we're using frozen cauliflower, it's going to cook pretty quickly. So within like 5 minutes, once it becomes sort of soft, you can sort of test it out with either a knife or a fork. I'll get off this shot, sorry. Then you're ready to go, okay? And we can blend it and serve. So after blending, we have
magic of TV.
Yeah.
It's not exactly TV. It looks really good. It's white. I'll describe it for you.
Yeah, well, the cauliflower is definitely doing that, and then the apples as well.
So I guess you don't want the apples to brown if you're expecting a pretty white product.
If you're going to be prepping apples in advance, then do your best to prevent them from oxidizing. But if you're prepping and adding as you need, then you don't have to. Now, what's nice is this looks like an incredibly creamy soup, right?
Yeah.
It's the cauliflower and the apples that are giving it that texture. So here's where you can sort of balance out and you have options, right? If we want to add more calories,
drizzle some olive oil.
Olive oil, you can even put cream.
Oh, cream,
Cream
of course.
into this, right?
My Italian brain went to olive oil.
Yeah, olive oil as well. But if you don't, on the other side of the spectrum, kind of leave it as is, and you're gonna get this really, absolutely like delicious, but texturally super creamy soup without the cream. Now,
and the people here, their mouths are salivating, right? Because they know they're going to be tasting this after.
right, so
cauliflower and apple is also adding some good fiber, so it's going to keep you full for longer. We want to get about 25 grams of fiber per day for women, 38 for men. So even with this creamy look, I'm saying creamy looking soup because it doesn't really have cream in it, you're getting some excellent fiber.
Yeah. Okay, so that sage that we had from earlier on top, and again, this is not necessary, but
Even
That
this
little-
is beautifully presented, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
No waste,
Right.
no waste, right?
that little extra step,
Look at that.
you get this like beautiful garnish and my little mini spatula.
I was gonna say we all need to get a mini
Mini
spatula.
spatula. Yeah. Maybe
Put it
unnecessary.
on our holiday gift list.
For some texture, you can put some walnuts, or you can put some, because it's super creamy at this point. So to balance that out, add some walnuts, and then here's where, again, this is where you have options, but if you want a little bit of richness, because you're going to have that texture, but there is very little sort of fat, just a little bit of the olive oil from the beginning. So a little bit of richness. I think one of the best pairings with apples is some goat cheese.
And I think it's great that you're adding the goat cheese and the walnuts because we had a lot of fiber, we're getting liquid in that dish, but we didn't have a lot of protein. So if you need more protein, you can kind of add more of that to this dish, right?
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's get our
We need
Francis
a
Ford
camera right on
Coppola
top.
shot in here. We'll do our best. I think that's
Oh
we can get
yeah,
a pretty
that
good
looks pretty good.
idea.
Well done.
Yes. So that is the first recipe. I think perfect for the fall
Yes.
season.
Yes.
Cauliflower apple soup, garnished with a little bit of goat cheese. on
Can't
top.
wait to try it.